Total Excellium, the fuel that cleans your engine kilometer after kilometer.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Bernard. How are you?
Looking forward to the day. I'm very well indeed.
Yes, and Bernard, this morning, let me say good morning to the people of the Glife area and remind them of what we heard last night on Point of View.
Fantastic. No, not fantastic. Fascinating.
Yeah.
The deputy coordinator or deputy director says there was going to be a third spillway opened of the Wager Dam.
He said 3 are open now and the 4th will be open.
Okay.
So people around Glife should be on the lookout. And let me also congratulate the AMA for the release on safe havens people can go to.
Yes.
Whilst they've started something great, I want to entreat them to do better. Yes, we need to have this information all year round. We need to work on our disaster our response better so that we can get to the aid of people.
We'll check out the specific places and announce during the show, but let's get into the start. That's the Ghanaian Times.
With the Ghanaian Times, missing doctor's body found. 10 entities get 1.3 million Ghana cedis grant. I was hired to kill JB Dankwa, accused confesses in court, and stabilize the city, according to the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
The Daily Graphic front page, Nayele set free after serving 3 years in UK jail. I was contracted to kill JB, accused, and other stories.
The New Crusading Guide, Lands Commissioner boss sacked. Ghanaians perish in Togolese prisons, and NLA VAG seal deal.
The Daily Guide, EC boss must go. Petitioners submit. Doctor's body recovered from Peshi Lagoon. Sad story. JB Killer sings new tune. An incorruptible claim. Mahama is a big joke. NPP fires Joyce Mokhtari.
The Chronicle, Mahama eats and drinks corruption. The NPP hits back at the former president, and I am not corrupt, according to the former president, John Dramani Mahama.
The Daily Heritage, gas operators blast NPA for rushing to implement CRM without facts. NPP gurus hired me to kill JB, self-confessed killer claims in court. And Ghana losing over 8 billion cedis due to non-payment of gift tax. Do people give gifts these days?
The Today newspaper, race for NDC flag bearership. Mahama curse in quotation marks to hunt Mahama. JB's killer threatens to drop names, and Nana fires Lands Commission's boss.
That story is also here on the front page of the Daily Statesman. Lands Commission boss ordered to proceed on leave. NPP chairmanship race heats up. Northern region declares for Blay. Time Asu Group endorses in team, and NPP, Mohammed's name is equal to corruption. Now, if you go to the BNFT newspaper, small pelagic fish near total depletion. So tuna, sharks, mackerel, all those types of fish, we are losing them in our waters. Use moral suasion to bring down interest rates, Professor Dodunu. And second shippers awards comes off tomorrow. And GNPC to publish public disclosure framework to ensure more transparency in the oil sector.
The Business Finder, mobile banking transactions jumped by 320.1% in 2017, says the BOG, and common external tariffs hike duties by 100%, says Guta.
All right, so let's get into the details.
Okay, let's start with the Daily Graphic then. Page 3, Nayele set free after serving 3 years in UK jail. The story says Ruby Nayele Ametepe, who was jailed in the United Kingdom for 8.5 years for dealing in narcotic drugs in 2015, has been released. She served 3 out of the 8.5-year term. Sources close to the Narcotics Control Board told the Daily Graphic that Nayele was released a couple of days ago. Meanwhile, she has renounced her Ghanaian citizenship for the Austrian citizenship. The sources said she was released on parole for being of good behavior while serving her jail term. She had pleaded guilty to carrying 12 kilograms of cocaine to the UK. Now, the court in London sentenced her based on her own guilty plea, and she was reported to have appeared in court well dressed on the day of the sentencing. Sources said she looked unresponsive when the sentence was handed down.
Now that story is the lead story in the graphic. Was the lead in the
Today newspaper, and it's a trending story. JB's killer threatens to drop names. So the prime suspect in the murder of JB Dankwa-Edu, Daniel Esiedu, has threatened to drop names and persons who contracted him to kill the former Ibuakwa North Member of Parliament. According to him, he was contracted to kill the lawmaker. Daniel Esiedu yesterday threatened that he will name his contractors when the time comes, and that they were officials of the ruling MPP party. Esiedu's confession in court came as a surprise to many people who were in court. When the case was called yesterday morning, he raised his hand and indicated that he had something to say. When he was offered the opportunity, he confessed that he was contracted to kill the former MP. He told the court, presided by Justice Arit Nsemwa, that he was told to execute the plot, after which he would be giving whatever he asked for. But he said after his arrest, nothing had been heard or seen from his contractors. He confessed that only one person from the MPP had visited him since his arrest and was ready to reveal the names of the persons who contracted him if he was asked to. When he was asked by the presiding judge whether he was doing the confession because of the promise or out of a threat, Daniel Esiedu, nicknamed Sexy Don Don, said he was making a confession because he was now a changed man and wanted the truth to be out.
Let's go to the Daily Guide and get updates on the rain, the flooding, and related matters. And the sad story is that Dr. Aya's body has been recovered from the Peshi Lagoon. Now, the story says a rescue team yesterday recovered the body of Dr. Adjoa Ishen Hefron, the 32-year-old medical doctor at Ridge Hospital in Accra, who went missing at Teshi in Accra after torrential rains on Monday night. The body was discovered around 10:30 a.m. yesterday by the fishermen in the area who were part of the team, comprising officials from NADMO, the military, and the police. It was found lying in the bush beneath some debris at the edge of the Peshi Lagoon. In the presence of the family, including the husband Bernard Kofi Eje Opon, the body was conveyed to the police hospital morgue pending autopsy. Dr. Hefron got drowned when she attempted to drive through the flood near the Demo Bridge at Teshi Bush Road with her Hyundai Accent vehicle with registration number GY221313 during the storm. The car was also removed from the stream yesterday with trucks from Road Safety Management Services Limited, and she was among 6 others who perished during the devastating flood that followed the heavy rains on Monday. So the Daily Guide's count is 6, but
it's 10 so far. Yesterday we had the NADMO Deputy Director General on the Citi point of view, where he said 10 people had died so far. 1 in the central region, 3 in the Volta region, and 6 in Greater Accra. 2 more stories related. So the AMA has released a list of flood-prone areas and safe havens in Accra for shelter in the event of flooding. Now, if you live in Latibi or Koshi, the safe haven is Salvation Cluster of Schools, Presby Vocational School, Town Council Line, and Bishop Barrow School. If you live in Osu, the safe haven is Independence Square. If you live at Bubuashi, the safe haven is Cable and Wireless Park. If you live at South Odoko, it's Wesley Grammar School. If you live at Mpwase, it's Ebenezer Senior High School. At Kolebu, it's Indafa Park, which is MOH School. If you're at Arena, the safe haven is Ayalolo Cluster of Schools. If you're at Legon, you have to get to University of Ghana to be safe. Dansoman is Karindorf Park. Mataeko is Roman Catholic School Park. And North Canadian is Azuma Nelson Sports Complex. It would be nice if other assemblies publish similar lists. Now, more stories. Government commits 200 million cedis to projects, says Deputy Minister. This is on Joy Online. Government is assuring Ghanaians that the incidence of floods in cities, particularly Accra, will be reduced to the barest minimum as it takes firm steps to deal with the perennial problem. Speaking on current affairs show up front, Deputy Works and Housing Minister Eugene Boateng said the government has committed funds to various projects across the country and other parts of Ghana. We started about 3 months ago to desilt major drains such as Odo and Kole Lagoon, the Nima Drain, the South Kanesi Drain, the Sukura Drain, Kanesi First Light, Odoko Drain, among others. The assurance by Deputy Minister comes on the back of severe flooding in parts of Accra on Monday, June 18, after many rains.
Well, the Ghanaian Times is referencing a conversation that the Deputy Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, had here on Citi FM, saying that Abu Ramadan has stated that politicians cannot be blamed for the perennial floods in Accra. According to him, citizens must also take responsibility for their negative behaviors, which contribute to the high incidence of the floods. So speaking on Citi FM in Accra, Mr. Ramadan said citizens must not criticize politicians, since the citizens are those who create the filth that cause the gutters to get choked. But he also highlighted some of the things that NADBA had personally done, like desilting about 16 drains in Accra and widening a number of them to contain the flood waters.
Let's go to page 24 of the Daily Graphic. Government secures $45 million to deliver sanitation services. Launches guidelines for delivery. Now, the story says the government of Ghana has secured a $45 million deal from the World Bank to help deliver basic sanitation services to poor and vulnerable people across the country. The amount will, among other things, be used to support the household latrine ownership and usage initiative by the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources across the country. The sector minister, Mr. Joseph Kofiada, announced this in Accra yesterday at the launch of a document dubbed Guidelines for Targeting the Poor and Vulnerable for Basic Sanitation Services in Ghana. He said the money was an additional funding under the Sustainable Water and Rural Sanitation Project that aimed at improving the country's water, sanitation and hygiene sector. According to a 2017 World Organization report, only 14% of Ghanaians have access to basic water, and goes on and on and on. Now, if you go to the Daily Guide, we are being told that 1,000 water systems for communities, 275 constituencies. This is under the Ministry of Special Initiatives. So, whilst the Sanitation Ministry is getting $45 million, Special Initiatives is also going to embark on their 1,000 borehole project. That story says that the Minister for Special Development Initiatives, Mavis Hawa-Kumsin, has said that her ministry has started the construction of 1,000 community mechanized water systems with solar pumps in the 275 constituencies across the nation. What we can promise these two ministries is that we will monitor these projects.
All right, AJ.
Welcome to the Ghanaian Times as well. And on the issue of health emergency response services, so pressure group Occupy Ghana has asked the government to immediately draw up an action plan for the preparation of an efficient health emergency response service in the next 2 years. It said the lack of such service was affecting the country's health, contributing to the death of some Ghanaians on a daily basis, and it urged the government to put in place a proper emergency response service to aid medical personnel to deliver on their mandate.
Now let's go to other stories in the world of business. So there are a couple of stories about 1 factory, over 300 proposals on 1D1F screen, according to Alan. That's on citynewsroom.com. It says 329 proposals for the construction of factories is under the 1 factory program have been successfully screened by Ministry of Trade and Industry. This according to Sector Minister Alan Chamating. Answering questions from the minority in Parliament on how many factories have been established so far, Mr. Chamating also said his ministry had received over 700 proposals, adding that significant progress had been made on the creation of factories. Then they quote him, but if you go to Joy Online, their version says 700 proposals received for 1D1F, but government unsure when the factories will start. And it says government is unable to tell exactly when any of its factories under the 1D1F policy will be completed. Trade Minister Alan Chamating told Parliament on Wednesday that the project will be led by private sector players, indicating that they will be able to provide the timelines, that only they will be able to provide the timelines for the completion. Then you move on to other stories in the papers.
Yes, other stories. Let me take you to Daily Statesman, page 2. The story is on other front pages. Land Commission boss ordered to proceed on leave. The story says the Executive Secretary of the Lands Commission, Wilfred K. Enim Odame, has been asked to proceed on leave. He has subsequently been asked to hand over the to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu. He is to report to the Minister for reassignment at the end of his leave. Dr. Enim Odame's contract is expected to end on July 14, 2018, but a letter signed by Peter Amewu informed him that the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, was not in a position to renew the contract. Alhaji Suleimana Mahama, a former Chief Director of the Lands Ministry, has been asked to act in the interim. But Bernard, let me ask the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources. I remember when Mr. Amewu was appointed the minister, he said a lot of things, including the land reforms and harmonizing things at the Lands Commission, at the Lands Department. We are still not seeing action. And this is after we've gone through Lap 1 and Lap 2 in the previous administrations. and people still have issues with lands. Yesterday, when they're having the discussion,
the man who's been asked to take over temporarily is the guru of lap.
Yeah.
So maybe when he's there, he would do lap.
Threatened that we may go for lap 3.
That wasn't a threat. That was a comment. Now, Dodonu Professor Cletus is on front page of BNFT and on citybusinessnews.com asking that we use moral suasion to bring down interest rates. Now, this is not the first time we've heard this. Story says the central bank needs to apply its moral suasion instrument to help bring down the rate at which commercial banks in the country lend to businesses. Professor of Economics Cletus Dodonu has said moral suasion refers to a method used by central banks to persuade or convince commercial banks to advocate or to advance credit in accordance with directives of the central bank in the country's economic interest. Interest rates of commercial banks have remained high between 28 and 31%, despite significant reduction in the policy rate of the Bank of Ghana. Other rates have also come down, including the T-bill rate. The Bank of Ghana reduced the monetary policy rate to 17% in the last meeting in May 21, whilst its Ghana reference rate is at 16.82%. Prof. Dodonu, who says it is taking far too long for lending rates to drop, despite all indicators pointing in a positive direction, said it is time for the central bank to act. He describes it as one of the puzzles of Ghana, where commercial banks' lending rates remain high, irrespective of what policy measure government implements.
Bernard, let's stay with the BNFT. This week they've been serializing a report from the Sustainable Fisheries Management Project. And today's report says that small pelagic fish near total depletion. The story says that small pelagic fish species in Ghana, that includes sardinella and mackerel and others, have reached unsustainable levels and may face total depletion by the year 2020 if urgent measures are not instituted to reduce the fishing and recover dwindling stock. A report from the Sustainable Fisheries Management Project has revealed. Now, the small fish resources, particularly sardinella, are on the verge of collapse, and annual landings have been in decline for more than a decade as fishing efforts have increased. This fisheries sector, Bernard, every day the reports that we get indicates that there's a lot of decline in the area. And I don't really know what the ministry and related agencies are doing in this particular area.
Don't worry. Election year, they'll give them premix.
But that is not what we want, because look, about 2 million people depend on the fisheries, and the population in Ghana also depends on fish for proper protein. Well, they are not really paying attention.
Charlie, AJ, what's the next story?
Coming to the Ghanaian Times, and it's about stabilizing the city. So the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has asked the government to fix the depreciation of the cedi against other trading currencies to ease the cost of doing business in the country. At the launch of the second Chamber Business Awards 2017, I believe 2018, they meant to write in Accra yesterday, President of the Chamber, Nana Dr. Apieje Dankausos the first said the cedi depreciation was not good for business and steps must be taken to address it. But coming to the Business Finder, and the cedi fall will cease soon, says the Finance Minister. So the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, has given the assurance that the recent fall in the value of the Ghana cedi will cease by the end of this month. According to him, his outfit is working assiduously with the Bank of Ghana to stem the recent depreciation of the local currency, which until recently was one of the best performing currencies in sub-Saharan Africa. But Mr. Oforiatta said the cedi had depreciated marginally by about 0.2% recently, and we are still within the band of reasonable stable currency, he told some journalists.
Now, there's a story I saw in the Daily Guide that was saying that the NHIS is begging for cash. That story is on page 18. It says the management of the National Health Insurance Scheme has insisted that the current claims being paid to the scheme by beneficiaries are too small. According to them, the 110 Ghana cedi paid annually as claims by the people, which is equivalent to $25, is far below the $86 global figure that the WHO has sanctioned for primary health care. The NHI has consequently appealed passionately to government to increase the VAT component of the NHIS from 2.5% to at least 3.5% or 4%, so the authority would have the needed funds to manage the NHIS properly. You know, when NHIS is one of the components of the health discussion we've been having, that has gone under the radar, but a lot of the no bed syndrome is also because the NHIS is not working. Because if people could treat you and know that they would get the money for it at particularly private hospitals, they wouldn't have to turn people away. So one of the villains of this whole no bed syndrome is the NHIS and how it's struggling, and nobody seems to be talking about it.
Yeah.
Again, we wait to election year, we politicize it, and then we move on and forget when we come into office.
There's an article in one of the papers, I think it's Daily Guide, that says that doctors do not manufacture beds, and that we should pay attention to the whole system, not just to blame medical professionals. We should give them what they need. We should ensure NHIS works and everything.
We are waiting for the Director of Ghana Health Service to tell us what actions have been taken. Don't forget, he says he set up a committee to review what happened at the hospitals that turned away the man who died. In the meantime,
let's go to SDF. Second phase of SDF to benefit 100 SMEs. The SDF is the Skills Development Fund. Now, the story says more than 100 small and medium-scale enterprises have been selected to receive support under the second phase of the Ghana government and Denmark's $14 million Skills Development Fund. The first phase of the fund, which was supported with a loan of $50 million from the International Development Association and grant funding of $50 million from the government of Denmark, has since 2011 supported 43,000 enterprises, training and research institutions. Yesterday, the fourth Skills and Technology Fair opened in Accra, where 40 beneficiaries of the first phase displayed their products and skills. Bernard, while we talk about SDF, which is more like a quasi-government, private sector initiative, which is working very well.
SDF is a government agency funded with donor money.
Yes, which is working very well. Monitoring and evaluation works. What is happening to the various Government of Ghana initiatives? Where are we with the NEIP? Because yesterday the Minister of Business Development was there. NEIP is under his ministry.
Yes.
Where are we with the NEIP?
They are moving.
The funding that was approved for NEIP. What have we done with the money?
No, John Kumar will explain. They are moving. But if you want to know more about what Kojo is saying, you can go to Alisa Hotel today. It's the second day of the SDF program, where you will find some very interesting exhibitors. I saw people who were into tilapia, people who were into quail breeding, all kinds of organic agriculture.
Powder.
Very, very interesting stuff happening there. Mobile money outstrips checks in non-cash retail payments. This is graphic business. Grab a copy and get it. And then Trump overturns a very horrendous policy which separates parents from children at U.S. border posts. Now, this is a very important story on the migration challenges U.S. is facing. U.S. President Donald Trump has bowed to public pressure and signed an executive order promising to keep families together in migrant detentions. Mr. Trump reversed his own policy amid international fury over the separation of undocumented parents and children. He said he had been swayed by images of children who had been taken from their parents while they are jailed and prosecuted for illegal border crossing. And on that note, we thank AJ and Kojo for being with us on a newspaper review. Obi Osei is next with the Citi Business News.
Honey, I'm off.